From Ticker Studios, this is The Founder's Method, presented by Memo Bottle.
What does losing a $30 million business teach you for building the next one? I'm Jesse Leeworthy.
And I'm John O'Bird.
And this is The Founder's Method. This is a show where we get into the real story behind how founders build, break, and rebuild businesses.
He scaled an events business into a $30 million run rate company with offices and manufacturing both in the US and Australia and 100 staff. And then in one sentence in a board meeting, it took it all to zero. Today, he's using every lesson from that collapse to rebuild and amplify Found Space, a $15 million brand that's been trading for 18 years. Today's guest, Ash Bent. Hello, mate.
Hey boys, how we doing?
Ash, good to have you. So good to have you on the show, mate. Now, you have one of the wildest business stories that I've ever heard. Can you take us through it?
Strap yourself in.
Okay, first business, my first big business called Sketch and Etch. So we were doing wedding and event signage and stationery. And we'd scaled that to $2-3 million a year business, maybe 15 employees, leading up to 2020. Mm-hmm. COVID hits March 2020. Obviously, not many wedding and events happening in Australia.
Tough industry to be in.
Yeah, very tough. So we had a 70 to 80% reduction in revenue, and we're sitting there looking, like staring down the barrel, going like, okay, where's the pivot? What's the opportunity here? And what we'd found is we'd gone into making LED neon signs. This is a trend that we'd seen. And we're like, people are using these not just in wedding events, they're using in their house, their businesses, whatever it might be. We're like, look, let's go single product focus, double down on neons and do the e-com play. Mm-hmm. So in June 2020, relaunched the Oz website, e-com focus, threw some cash at Meta ads, and it worked. And I was like, okay, I think the play is going to be the US. So August 2020, we built a website for the US, localized it for US customers, changes the S to Z's and whatever else.
Americanized.
And got someone to run our ads in the US and launch. I remember saying to my business partner then, Tash, I was like, look, we were burning cash, keeping the team members engaged, didn't want to let anyone go during COVID. Mm-hmm. I said, look, this is the last 30 grand I've got to throw into the business. If this doesn't work, like we're done. And so I said, let's throw the 30 grand at Meta ads. And we did, and August, it worked straight away. August was great, September was awesome, October flatline because of the US election, then mm-hmm. November comes and it's our first BFCM. Now, BFCM pre-COVID wasn't really a big thing in Oz. Mm-hmm. Didn't really know what to expect, and the guy running our ads said to me, he's like, hey, what's our budget? And I was like, mate, what do you mean? And he's like, how much do we spend? I was like, if you put $1 in and get 3 back, just keep going. So we ran our sale for a few days over BFCM and did like $500,000 rev, broke every system in the business.
Wow.
Like, we couldn't deal with that volume. And so kind of off the back of that, we pivoted and we're now an e-com neon sign business and scaled that through 2021, 22.
Wow. Amazing. So, and then from there, in the story, you then went and got a VC, is that right?
Yeah, so 2021, we were scaling, got to 50 staff. That November, we did like $2.5 million rev, closed the deal with a VC fund, and yeah, started 2022. I pretty much went to the US, spent 80% of my time there for the next 18 months and scaled up to 100 employees. That November did like 4.2 mil rev. So yeah, we're like 30 mil run rate. So
wow,
that's incredible. And so why did you choose to go down the VC path? Like, did you need to?
Yeah, like at that point, we were obviously coming off the back of COVID. There was like obviously a lot of expenses in the business and our profitability being hit hard, just trying to like adjust the business, keep everyone engaged, do what we had to do. But we're in a position where we didn't really need the capital. It just seemed to be like a really good fit from like a value add perspective. Mm-hmm. But we're in a position where, if we didn't get that cash, it wasn't like the business disappeared, like we were fine. So
interesting. It's for a lot of businesses, it's that next logical step that you think you should be making, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so what happened? You had these VCs.
Yeah.
There was a fateful day.
Yeah, it was a fateful day, and it was like, look, the business has been scaling, we were burning cash. That was the goal, is to scale quickly, get market share, and then look at optimizing the business, look for efficiencies, cut costs. And we were on that path. We'd cut a lot of costs. We'd in-house manufacturing in the US rather than using Chinese manufacturers. Mm-hmm. And yeah, in January, we lost our Facebook ad account. It was a hangover from a hack that had happened 18 months, 2 years before, and just one day we lost it. And those days we spent like 100K on, we just lost it. We spent like 100K on meta ads on some days. So it was like, that was our channel.
100K, that's a lot in a day.
That's wild. and so that happened, and I remember going in, board meeting with board members, leadership team, and we'd burnt an extra 800 grand in January, spinning up another ad account, trying to hit our number. And so we had this big hole, and we're like, look, we need to get more cash. And it just turned out that, the board didn't agree that was the right direction, and we didn't have that option on the table. So we're like, okay, we're going to have to right-size the business. So the next business day after the board meeting, I let go of 40 staff at the end of the day in the US. And we ended up going down from over the following months from 100 staff down to about 25 and right-sized the business where it was back to break even.
And then wound down to nothing, basically.
Yeah, and wound down nothing. So my business partner then, Tash, who was the director of the Oz entity, and decided to put into liquidation.
It's such a crazy story. And then what even amplifies this story even more so is a year later, you found yourself on the other side of the fence, saving another business. So that's where it takes you to where you are now. So give us a quick minute as to what's happened in the last 12 months.
Yeah, so off the back of FoundSpace, I was like, okay, I remember the flight from LA back to Melbourne. So on the back of Sketch&Etch, I remember being on the flight from LA back to Melbourne, and I was like, okay, what's next? If this turns to zero, what do I want to do? And I literally wrote out the whole business plan for Cowd, which is a business where we sell ice bars, and got into doing saunas. On the flight, and it was something that I really was passionate about. I spent 10 days with Wim Hof years before. I've got ADHD. This was the thing that I found for me that really worked, ice bar, saunas, breath work. And then, X months ago, found out the biggest competitor in the space here in Australia, and the best brand, I believe, FoundSpace, had gone into liquidation. So I was in a unique position where I'd been on the other side of it. I was like, I kind of know how this process works.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Amazing.
Yes.
And there you are.
And here we are, So we were able to go through the process, acquire the assets from the liquidators, and then, revive the business and engage the key employees, and off we go.
It's so wild and rare that you've gone through both sides of that.
Yeah.
So, diving back into Sketch&Etch for a moment. So, what you've told me before is that the shareholders agreement had a clause giving your VC veto rights, right, for any debt over 10K.
Yep.
Now, what I want to know is obviously buried in the fine print, and when you're going through these shareholder agreements, there's so much stuff in there, it's really hard to know what to look for. What's your advice for founders, if they're going in and signing one of these documents?
Yeah, you've got to remember, I think, whenever you're working with any sophisticated or institutional investors, this is what they do every day. They're hunting for deals, they've got amazing legal teams, they know what they're doing. For most founders, it's their first time being on the other side of and looking at one of these agreements.
Yeah.
And my advice can be I like to call it it's not a shareholders agreement, it's a shareholders disagreement. The only time you're looking at is when there's a disagreement.
They need to change the name.
It's a disagreement, because why else would you pull it out?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think one big takeaway there for anyone, which I'd known, is having really good counsel, really good lawyers, to take you through it and try to play out these worst case scenarios. Because it's all good and well that when things are going well, none of this comes into play. Yeah. When it does, it's where can I potentially lose control? Even though on the cap table might be you might be majority shareholder, you might own the board in votes, but sometimes there's these things that can bring the business undone.
Yeah. And going from everything to nothing super quick, a lot of founders don't think about that potentially happening, and cash off the table is a big lesson that you've learnt from that as well.
Yeah.
What's your advice there?
Yeah, so I think, as founders, I think a lot of the time we'll do what we have to do. We'll eat 2-minute noodles and we'll sleep on cash, and we'll do this, and we can really sacrifice for ourselves for the benefit of the business. Yeah. When having investors come on board, and especially VCs, there's an opportunity there to take some off the table and go, I built this to the point where there is others that see the value in this, and that we can, 10x this business, 100x the business, whatever it might be. And at that point, it's okay, there's a bit of recognition for what I've done. And it's yes, the cash comes in, but we've got to have some of it allocated off to the founders.
No, sort of de-risk a bit as well.
De-risk it, and get a bit of a reward for everything you build, because it can go to zero at any point, and it's here's an opportunity to take some off the table. And we took such a small amount off. We should have taken a significant amount more.
Yeah.
Hindsight, beautiful thing.
Hindsight's a beautiful thing, man.
It's a tough thing to
Should
solve.
have taken it all off the table.
Yeah. So at Sketch and Etch, so you grew the business up to 100 employees, right?
Yep.
So has that changed your perspective on headcount versus output these days?
Yeah, definitely. So I think when you're moving really fast and it's like, you know, all this stuff's happening, you've got different members in your team, different managers, leadership team, screaming out for resource. And normally number one resource is headcount, it's people. And normally what I found with this experience with Sketch and Etch, and I've heard this time and time again from other founders, is it's like, okay, just like throw more people at the problem to fix it. The issue is, and what I've found is the underlying problem isn't getting solved, and you end up just burning a bucket load of cash on headcount.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to us. We would throw a lot of people at a problem, but the problem wouldn't disappear. And so now, this time around, one with Cowd, going through startup phase again and everything, like being hyper efficient. Zach, my business partner, and I being like very, very efficient, watching every dollar where it went. And now with FoundSpace going like, okay, we went in there was potentially at certain parts of their journey, bloated headcount. So we're like, okay, who are we going to bring back in? It's like we want A players, and now we've got the ability to leverage things like AI to amplify the skill set they have. And instead of A players spending time on low value tasks, it's like, let's offload that to AI. You sit there to oversee it, and then like really focus on where you can have impact. So yeah, very different approach.
Yeah, A players and AI.
Yeah, A and A.
Nice.
So it's a really unique position you've been. You've worked with VCs on one side and then liquidators on another side, two different aspects of business. They've all got different motivators. So what do you think of what do people need to know as founders of what are motivating the people on the other side of the table?
Yeah, I think anytime you're doing any type of, in this case, that you know you're working through a lot of agreements, you've got lawyers involved, you've got that. I think, and we can get caught up in that, and we've got lawyers giving us advice, whatever it might be, and you kind of can get stuck in the weeds. But a big thing, and what I found that helped, and especially going through the process with acquiring FoundSpace from the liquidator, is like pulling back and going like, what's the motivating factor here for the person on the outside of the table? Like, what's the motivating factor here for the VCs or for the liquidators? And being able to go, okay, this is what matters to them. It's normally not what matters to you, and it's being able to find that middle ground and like, how can I help meet them? So we walk away from this and we both go, we got a great deal. We achieved what we both wanted to achieve, as opposed to sometimes I think the approach can be like, you've got to have a winner and a loser. And it's like, I don't think that's ever a good outcome. It's like, we want to come out both feeling like we've won, but I understood what winning means for you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Crazy stories, man. It's been such a wild journey that you've been through. And mate, thanks for coming on today. It's like, sharing this is just so helpful for everyone out there as to what the possibilities could be. So
keep on killing it, mate. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, boys.
You're watching Ticker. The Founders Method is presented by Memo Bottle. For more, visit memobottle.com.